Welcome back to Cosmoholics Anonymous. I am your favorite spiritual mother of two and you, Bougie Vintage, and today's video is Botox. Welcome back! I haven't done Botox in a long time. And before I get into today's video, I just want to address something because I feel like previously when I would film Botox, I would internalize a lot of things and get frustrated because of course I see myself in a lot of you, and the stuff that I was getting emailed was really redundant and annoying to say the least. But that's because spiritually I wasn't where I needed to be to handle that type of stuff. Some of the stuff is a lot and other stuff is not, and so I have a whole new set of eyes to look at situations with, and just today's video is hopefully going to offer a lot of healing to different people, and I'm happy to sit here and do it. When I was doing Botox before, it got to the point where I was like, I can't, like, this is just too much. But I realized that some things need to be addressed for different people, and sometimes they're just looking to hear a word. And so the way I'm going to respond to these emails today is not how I used to respond to them. And I'm also going to be taking notes while I'm responding so that I can go and pray individually, so I can do my intercessory prayer for the people that have emailed me. I think that's really important because I'm not the type of person that will tell you I'm going to pray for you and then I don't pray for you. That's not my MO. If I tell you I'm going to pray for you, I do it right then in the moment, because then I won't forget. And it's not just I said I'm going to pray for you and then life happens and I don't remember to pray for somebody that really needs prayer. I always take the time right away to pray. And so because I want to get through the emails, I'm not going to really be able to do that. So I'm going to take notes and then have a little bit of a prayer session later on. Another thing I want to get into before the emails have been pouring in, it's crazy. Another thing I want to get into before I actually start reading emails is that if you guys are open to it, I want to change the dynamic of Botox. You email in, I help you out, but I kind of want to personalize Botox. I want to FaceTime whoever emails me if they are comfortable with it and talk one-on-one and offer sound advice in the moment right then and there, and allow people to tell their testimonies on my channel. And so if you guys are open to it and you guys are comfortable with not being anonymous, then you can participate in that. I think it's a lot better that way. It's kind of like Ayanla Fix My Life, but not really, because I ain't Ayanla. But I feel like with the FaceTime aspect of it, your story is helping other people, and you shouldn't really be ashamed to tell your story no matter what it is. So think about it, all right? And then you guys can let me know when you email me if you want me to FaceTime you, and we'll set up a whole entire time and date and all that stuff. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. There are some people here that are looking for some help, child. One more thing. It's been, how long? It's been 4 minutes. One more thing before I get into this. I've already prayed. As soon as I woke up this morning, I knew what I was going to do today, so I grounded myself for that. But before I start reading emails, I just need to get the atmosphere right. So I'm going to say a quick prayer. Spirit of the living God, I just ask that you are here. I just ask that you will be my mouthpiece yet again and give me the words of wisdom and encouragement that these people, your children need. I just ask that there will be healing delivered. There will be generational curses broken. There will be understanding where there was not understanding, God. Your children are trusting me to give them sound advice, oh God. And I just ask that you allow me to look at everything with a new set of eyes that cast out any judgment. And in your holy name I pray, amen. Okay. Fresh eyes, girl, fresh eyes. You know what? I'm gonna start from the very first email I got in. It's called Complicated Family Situation. Hey Bo, I've been a fan of you since forever and I missed BOETALKS so much. So I recently got kicked out by my mother out of my father's house and I moved in with my cousin. I told y'all I know it all too well, honey. My mother raised me and my little brother as a single mother, but when I turned 14, my father asked me to stay with him in a new state. Me and my mother never got along because even though she's clearly physically and biologically older than me, I feel spiritually older and more mature than her, and it's been that way since I was little, and her actions always seemed so immature and made no sense to me. I relate to this on like, girl, trust me, I understand 1000%. When I was younger and my mom and I would kick off, I always felt like she had such an immaturity about her and it would drive me insane. And I still find her to be that way, but we don't really argue these days, so God bless her. But I totally relate. She has always put us in situations of struggle due to her pride, anger, and unwillingness to improve or change. And when you confront her about this, she feels attacked and gets angry and gives a sob story. I can almost tell exactly which sign she is, girl. So, of course, I accepted the offer to move in with my father. My living situation with my father was the most comfortable situation I've been in, considering I had clothes, food, and a bed to sleep in, and a family that cares about me, and I didn't have to worry about it being snatched away from me. My father then fell in love with my mother again, and she moved up here with us, with my little brother and little sister after 6 months of me staying here. Of course, I opposed the idea because I knew my mother would bring a sense of instability into my life again, and I wasn't wrong. Their relationship was on and off, and there was non-stop fighting due to my mother's chaotic nature and my father's stubbornness. When do people start to realize that just because you have kids does not mean that you have to make a relationship work? Like, it's not a thing. Anyway, then they made my baby sister, despite the fact that they clearly can't co-parent or compromise together, creating a situation that is now harder to get out of. Oh Lord, she even got pregnant. I can't. Fast forward, I am 19 now. My mother rummaged through my things without asking and got mad at me for my personal belongings. Poetry and writings that was only for me to see. A sex toy, weed, and alcohol, which I don't abuse and respectfully use outside of the house. Well, child, I mean, if you're underage, child. Even though I'm not a child anymore, I have a right to privacy. Well, I understand curfew, I understand chores, but my privacy is rightfully deserved. I also understand why she would be mad about my weed and alcohol and sex toy, but she shouldn't rummage through my things in the first place, and it's definitely not something to kick me out over, considering I don't do any of those things in the house. Okay, so before I continue, I'm going to ignore the fact that your mom is not, has not been who you need her to be in your life. We're going to ignore that for a second. And we're going to look at this like it's just your father's house, despite the fact that your mother rummaged through your things. What I've found and what I realized over the years is that it doesn't matter how old you are. When you are living under your parents' roof, they have standards and they have expectations. And yes, I do agree that you deserve privacy once you hit a certain age. But at the same time, I also realized that if you were grown, if you were an adult, you wouldn't be living at home. If you were able to not live at home and follow rules, then you wouldn't be at home. And so I don't agree with your mom searching through your things. It's really a violation. But I also know that sometimes when stuff like this happens and we get kicked out of where we were staying, or we lose things that we thought we needed or wanted, sometimes it's God's way of telling us you need to go. Okay, so when you are being rejected, so to speak, and this was actually TD Jake's word just yesterday, when you're being rejected, you have to learn to rejoice in the rejection. And so I think based on what you're saying so far, the fact that you can't even really stand the presence of your mother, and now that you're getting kicked out, it's an opportunity for you. Yes, it may be hard at first because you're like, where the heck am I supposed to go? And obviously you can't stay with your cousin forever. You needed to get away from your mother, and this is a good opportunity. We have to look at the bright side in things, because now you're in a place where your mom can't rummage through your stuff, and it's not like you got kicked out and then you had literally nowhere to go. You were able to go to your cousin, so take it as an opportunity. But let me continue. Luckily, my grandma was willing to take me in at the time. A few weeks later, I find out she took all of my father's stuff out of the master bedroom and moved it to my tiny room I moved out of, and put dirty sheets on the bed to be petty because my father frequently voices how he doesn't like crumbs on his sheets. Well, if I was your daddy, child, I'll be putting out your mama and bringing my child back home, but that's neither here nor there. Keep in mind, she's living here for free, and my father is struggling to pay all the bills, and we have just found out that he has cancer, and he is losing his vision month by month and will eventually become completely blind. And my mother decides to do this. She also makes low blow jokes about his manhood and eyesight when she's angry. Okay, so this is the thing about having toxic people around you. You have to know when it's time to cut them loose. Doesn't matter if they're family or friends. Doesn't matter who they are. If they're toxic, they have to go. I believe in forgiveness, of course, and I believe you need to forgive your mom for whatever she does, but you don't have to tolerate somebody that is wicked. Okay? You pray for them, and you pray that God will have mercy on your enemies and those that persecute you. I had to pray for that a lot. And your mom, though she is the person that brought you or here, she's not who created you, and she doesn't really have this kind of authority to be rummaging through your life and turning your life upside down and making things harder than they need to be when you are sitting in the face of adversity right now. When your dad has cancer, you know, and he's losing his vision, that means that sooner than later your dad's not going to be able to pay all the bills because he is probably going to have to go on disability, and I know disability ain't paying that much. So there's a few things that you're gonna have to help your dad to do before things get really, really bad. Just always keep in mind that there's a light at the end of every single tunnel. I don't know how to feel or whose side to be on because I really care about my siblings, and if she leaves, I'll lose my 2 other siblings because they are not my father's. They were out of a different relationship. My father is working to get custody over all of them, but I don't know how it will work out. My mother is jobless, and because she refuses to pay the car note, she's going to lose her car too, so she won't be able to do her Uber side hustle. So her moving to a new state with both my siblings infuriates me because she literally has nothing going for herself, and I don't want them to be in the situation we were in again of homelessness and struggle. And if we do get custody of all the kids, I still fear my mother might be and I don't want that to happen either. I don't want my mother to feel alone, but at the same time, she has such a destructive energy and I can't be around her anymore. I've moved, but I feel like I kept the house in control, and now that I'm away, not a second goes by without me worrying about my siblings, my mom, and my dad, and what a mess is going on there. Both my parents are fairly young and quite immature, but my mother is something else. I don't know whose side to be on or what I can do, so I can get the best outcome for this situation, but I'm honestly stressed thinking about it all the time. Please give me some advice. Sweetie pie. So the first thing, well, this is not the first thing I'll tell you because I already told you a bunch of stuff, but the first thing I want to tell you is that you have to learn to let some things go. You have to realize that you're trying to take on things that are not necessarily your portion or that you have no control over. You're going to exhaust yourself, if you haven't already, worrying about the things that I don't want to say have nothing to do with you, but that you shouldn't have to worry about right now. You should write your priorities down. Try to tackle them in the order that you write them down in. I understand that you're worried about your siblings, but right now you have to worry about yourself. you've moved, are you able to work and save money, or are you in school? You didn't really tell me those details, so it's hard. This is why I want to do the FaceTime thing, because I can ask questions as I am trying to help you figure something out. And I'm also trying to be a vessel to where I'm just listening, you know? I think that if you take on the role of mommy too soon, which you clearly have already done, it's going to affect you in the long term. And you may end up being resentful towards not just your parents, but your siblings, because you never got to have the life that you envisioned for yourself, with God's plan, of course. I want you to write down everything that you want to happen, and I want you to pray to it, and I want you to believe that it's going to sort itself out, because that's the thing about having faith. You can't just be like, okay, God, please, fix the situation for me, but then you doubt that he's not going to do it for you. I think it's important for you to talk to your dad about the future, because you need to make sure his ducks are in a row where you are concerned and your siblings are concerned, especially since he wants custody of your siblings. I think you're taking on way too much. You can't be worrying about your father, worrying about your homelessness, worrying about your siblings, worrying about your mom and her mental health, what she's gonna do if you take your siblings from her. You're taking on way too much and you're weighing yourself down. You have to send it up at this point. Like, you can't be drowning yourself with everybody else's problems. What are your problems? Because I see that you're really selfless, where you're talking to me about everything that's going on in your life, but you didn't even stop to tell me even just how you're feeling, despite the fact that you are homeless. Like you said, of course, that you have problems with your mother, and you always have, but you seem to be confused, and I think you still have a lot of love for your mom, despite the fact that she's not who you need her to be. And that shows me that you are a really good, big-hearted person, because you're still concerned about her, despite the fact that she doesn't really seem concerned about you. That's how I know that you're super strong. You have to start telling God, take this problem into your hands and fix it, please. I can't do this without you, God. I can't do this on my own. I need your help. I'm worried about me. I'm worried about my sister, my brother. I'm worried about my daddy. I'm worried about my mom. Where your father is concerned, I need you to ask your dad about his life insurance policy, if he has one. I find that a lot of people don't have life insurance, but I honestly feel like if you have children, it should be like one of the first things you do once you have kids. You should have it before you have kids, but like, I didn't have life insurance until I had children. But life insurance is so important. And if you talk to your dad and find out, hey dad, do you have life insurance, and what is it? I need to look at the policy and blah, 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 blah. Then you might find some relief that way, because should anything happen to him, God forbid, you know that you, being his only child, will have the finances to take care of your younger siblings if it comes to that. And where your mother is concerned, she is going to have a rude awakening. She's going to have to wake up eventually from the slumber that she's in, because you cannot live your life this way when you have children. Like, it's so selfish and so unfair to the children to drag them through that, to purposely bring your kids through poverty. But you also have to consider what your mom has been through in her life that's brought her to this point, because none of these things are coincidental. None of these things happen by accident. So I think you need to talk to both your parents and find out the things you need to find out. With your dad, it's what is going to happen should he pass. And with your mom, it's, Mom, I want to talk to you on a real level. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to know what happened to you in your childhood, if you don't know already, or even if you do know, it doesn't matter. What happened to you why you're like this. I want to understand you so that you and I can move forward in our relationship, and so also so that you can be the mom that I need you to be, not even for me because I'm 19, but for my brother and my sister, because I don't want them to have to deal with this, and I don't want to have to take them away from you because you're not being a mom to them. If you're 19 and you're more of a mom to them than your actual mom, and she's still living, breathing, and kicking, that don't make any sense. You need to have conversations with both of your parents and figure out where you stand in all of that. I don't know why your father hasn't put your mom out when she's doing the most, but I think it's also time for her to go. And if your mom is the type of person that you can't even really express to her how you're feeling, don't try. Write how you're feeling down on paper, and then when you go to talk to your mom, just listen to her. Just listen to what she has to say, and it may change a lot of things in your life and in your relationship. I'm going to be praying for you and praying hard, okay? Because when I get on my knees, child, and I get to praying, girl, I just be going in. So you're not going to be praying alone. And where 2 or 3 are gathered, girl, God has no choice but to get the job done, okay? So you and I are going to come into agreement that your situation is going to make sense after all of this. Make sure you're picking out the parts that you're going to learn, or pick out the parts that you have already learned so that you can apply them in another season. Don't allow this to weigh you down, because it's not for you to fix. I realize that you cannot fix people. You know, you can't fix your mom, especially because if she's not ready to be fixed, girl, there's no point. But you can talk to her and you can just be an ear for her. I know you're not going to have a problem with that because you've already expressed how big your heart is, but I don't feel like you should be putting all this on yourself when you're just a baby. Like, you got things, you have your own life to live. You cannot be taking on other people's problems. Those are not your children. I understand you love them, but you have to learn to be a little bit selfish in your selflessness. Okay, you can't get any or figure anybody else's situation out when your situation is not figured out. So don't take on too much. Whatever you cannot take on, if you can't go to the source of the problem and easily fix it like this, if you can't find a solution for it like this, that means that you need to pray about it and give it to God. You need to get it off of you because it's too much for you. So do that. I'll be praying for you and you'll be praying for you. That's 2 people coming into agreement to fix and solve your issues through God. So that is what I'm going to leave your situation at. You can give me an update. And so here we are at email 2. My best friend still talked to him. Hi, Bo. I would like to remain anonymous. I like this one guy and my best friend talked to him, but they stopped talking and I told her that I liked him and she still flirted with him right in front of my face. She told me she was over him, but I guess not. Is she wrong to still be talking to him even after I told her I liked him? I think over the years, my mind has changed about relationships and what's okay and what's not okay. And right now in this moment, I feel like he's just not for you. And I know you're asking me about your friend and if she's wrong for flirting with him when you told her you liked him. It's breaking girl code, but forget girl code. Let's talk about God code for a second, okay? Because if somebody is not for you and somebody else snatches them up and you're like, oh my gosh, I really liked him, like that's not cool, be thankful and be grateful, because it's almost a blessing in disguise when somebody misses you. When you miss an opportunity with a guy or a girl or whoever, a friendship, sometimes it's like that on purpose. And I've learned to realize that. You might look at somebody and be like, wow, I really want to be that person's friend. They seem really cool. But then you get in a room with them and you start talking to them and you're like, ew, you know? And so you are attracted to this person probably because he's cute. but he might be a heartbreaker, girl. You might be dodging a bullet. So allow your friend to have a crush on him, flirt with him, whatever. Boys are not gonna be there forever. They gonna come and they gonna go, child. You gonna get your heart broken a few times. You're gonna be upset a few times. You're gonna be in love a few times. It is what it is. Don't allow this guy to get in your friendship and ruin your friendship because you have a crush. And I know I probably sound crazy to a lot of people because you're like, okay, no, Bo, this is not right because she's told the girl she liked him. So what? Who cares? There's more guys. He's not the last guy on earth. And, you know, you could tell your friend, I told you I liked him and you still flirted with him. That's not cool. But baby, was he flirting with you? Like, it's just wasted energy. You know what I mean? But I think it's okay to tell your friend, like, I didn't think that was cool that you still flirted with him, just so she knows that you're sensitive that way, and maybe she'll respect you the next time. And then, you know, if it happens again, maybe not with this guy, but a different guy, then you know, okay, my friend just is problematic. I need to get rid of her. But because she had something with him before you even told her you liked him, it's kind of like, it's almost irrelevant because she had already kind of started to have something with this person and then you told her. It's not like you told her and then she pursued him. Then I would be like, no, not cool. But honestly, sometimes you should really just be thankful when certain people or opportunities miss you, because that means that something better is on its way, girl. Hi, Bo. I really love your channel and sharing your journey of faith. Well, thank you. I have been dealing with depression for a while now, and I managed to push through the dark cloud that I had over me. Okay, just one thing. So I'm reading this email, and I actually changed a word just now because you have to believe what you're saying. And you can't be talking in the past and using present tenses. So she had said, I managed to push through the dark cloud that I have over me. That means that she's pushed through it, but it's still there. But then you didn't push through it because it's still there. So I put, and I wanted her to hear me say had, because you have to believe that it's gone. It doesn't have you. It cannot hold you. You do not belong to it. It does not belong to you. It is dead and gone, as it should be. So had, you don't have it over you anymore. You had it. This year, I have finished my medical program and I will be graduating in January. Praise Jesus. Everything seems to go very well for me, but I'm still very unhappy. I have tried to talk to certain family members and friends about my feelings, but they don't seem to understand. Sometimes I feel guilty about being unhappy. I'm starting my career in healthcare and I have a great opportunity set before me. Bo, would you give me any suggestions or advice? Thank you for your time. It's greatly appreciated. So the standout thing here is that everything is going well for you, but you're still unhappy. I think when we feel this way, it's because we thought we wanted something, or we thought that accomplishments would bring us happiness, joy, and peace, but they don't. And so obviously you are a person of faith. Obviously you are a person that wants to be able to move past your depression. But you have to realize that your happiness was never going to come from your accomplishments. Our happiness doesn't come from our YouTube channel, our schooling, our graduating. Our happiness doesn't come from those places. Our happiness is God-given. Our happiness is seeking God, finding Him, and allowing the Prince of Peace to permeate and take over us, because He is the way, the truth, and the light. And there's no way to obtain true happiness, I talked about this in a lot of videos, without Him. And so I think if you were to wake up every morning and do a few things, that it may change you internally. Maybe you already do wake up and do these things, but for whatever reason, because you have suffered with depression, your doubt is greater than your faith, and it's not allowing you to blossom and bloom. So I think you have homework to do I think that you have to ground yourself every morning. I posted on the community tab on YouTube today about this. Wake up early. Wake up as early as you see the sun peeking through your window. And get on your knees. Don't just lay in the bed, but get on your knees and give God thanks. You have to start your morning off right, and it will literally fix your whole day. It will make your day that was about to get rocky and rolly into a smooth day. Even when something happens that is obviously out of your control, that may try to upset you or alert you, or, raise your blood pressure, those things won't affect you the same way they would have if you didn't ground yourself. When I get up in the morning, I think the first thing out of my mouth is, thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. Thank you for waking my children up, even though they're still asleep. Thank you for keeping them asleep, Lord. Like, the first thing I do when I wake up is give thanks. And then from that point, then I get into the other stuff and I just pray. And then after I'm done praying, it doesn't end. I will read my Bible. I will read whatever my spirit is led to read. I will read or finish reading what I was reading the night before I fell asleep. And then after I read my Bible, sometimes if my kids are still sleeping at this point, I will put on a sermon and just hear the word. Maybe you're putting on my videos, I don't know, child, but I just want to hear a word from God. And so that's how I start my day. Every day is not gonna be it's a great day, sunshine and rainbows. Like, every day is not gonna be like that, so I'm not gonna pretend that that's what it is. Every day is not like that, but every day is okay. And okay is the bare minimum. Even on a bad day, it's still okay, because I allowed the Holy Spirit to just ground me. I started my day off grounded. Therefore, nothing can move me. Therefore, nothing can take me to a place where I don't want to go. Therefore, my path is lit and I'm not upset. I'm not depressed. I am not, woe is me. I'm not that person, because God didn't intend for me to be. And I'm not going to allow the enemy or depression or anything of that nature to hold me. Depression is a scary thing. It's a very dark thing. It's a very dark place. I mean, I've read some old journal entries and I'm like, I don't remember writing this, because that's how you know the enemy is or can be in control of your thoughts. And that's all that it is. And if you take your mind back from the enemy, if you tell depression, you need to let go off me, you old heifer. Like, if you tell depression you better back up, it's not going to have any choice to. Praise confuses the enemy. And it's so funny because yesterday Shooter and I were in the car and he put on this song because I had mentioned Marvin Sapp, and he's like, what do you know about Marvin Sapp? And I'm like, don't do me, sir. And so he puts on his favorite Marvin Sapp song, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Okay, Mr. Holier Than Thou. The song is called Praise Him in Advance. And so instead of listening to a sermon, maybe you should just put on gospel music and allow it to change your atmosphere. Depression cannot hold you, because depression has no control. You control the depression. The depression can't control you. The song Praise Him in Advance by Marvin Sapp, I think, will help you get through your week. Sometimes it's just one song that allows you to get through the week. I think you should try changing your mind so you can change your life, but also changing your atmosphere so that you're not looking to your goals and your accomplishments to satisfy you and fill you with happiness, because that's not where it comes from. And once you know that your happiness doesn't come from those things, you will be happy. You will be happy with everything that God has already given you. Forget that you're gonna be a doctor. Okay, congratulations, by the way. I think that's awesome. If you weren't gonna be a doctor, you would still have to find a way to be happy. If you were going to be a veterinarian or an engineer, whatever the occupation, would that mean that you wouldn't be happy because you weren't going to be in the medical field? No, you would still have to find a way to your happiness no matter what field you're in. Therefore, it's proof that your accomplishments don't equate to happiness, because no matter what field you're in, you would want to be happy. It's not a thing where, yes, I'm going to be a doctor and or a nurse, whatever, and it comes with happiness. Nothing comes with happiness. Happy meals don't even come with happiness. So your happiness is coming from an internal place. You have to be transformed internally to appreciate your life for what it is. Saying that even if I wasn't a doctor, even if I didn't have the skills to become a doctor, girl, I wish I could become a doctor. I do not have the skills to sit in class and do all these things and science and all this. I don't, okay? So I have to be happy with whatever God gave me. I don't have schooling. I do not have an education past high school. But here I am. It is what it is, and I'm happy. So one day if I decide I want to go to school to do something, to be something, then that is going to be something that I would have to be praying about and know that God is calling me to do this now. And I'd be like 40 years old and God's like, go back to school. And I'm like, what? Go back to where? God, you got me messed up. Oh God, I hope I didn't just speak that into existence. God, I don't want to go back to school, child. I won't go back. Anyway, no matter what we do in life, we have to know that happiness is internal. Joy is internal. Peace is internal. Nothing that we get on the outside, no accomplishment, no shoe, no bag, no camera. Girl, none of that is going to bring us happiness. So accept it and your whole life will change. One of the major things in praising God, even when you don't feel like it, even when you're unhappy, it will confuse the enemy, which is the point I was bringing up before when I was talking about the song. It confuses the enemy because he's going to be like, wait a second, I'm throwing all these curveballs at this big-headed girl. Why is she over here singing praises to Jesus? What did he do for her? But what God is doing for you is none of the enemy's business. God will allow the enemy to try to do things to you. But when you turn around and you still give praise to God despite the fact that the enemy is up to his, tactics, it's because God will send the enemy to get you in alignment with God's purpose and will for your life. The enemy can't move without God's permission. That's how weak the enemy is. He has to have permission from God. And he's not allowed to touch us. He's not allowed to do anything for us. He's basically allowed to scare us, okay? He's like a monster in the closet or under your bed. Like, that's what the enemy is. The thing is, God will instruct the enemy. Sometimes the enemy be taking it too far, okay? But that he does that without telling the enemy, I've already put it in her to do something that's going to confuse you. So what you're about to try to do to her, it ain't gonna matter, okay? Because that's my baby, okay? So God basically tricks the enemy into doing stupid stuff, very stupid things, so that we will come into alignment with what God has called us to do and be. And when he's sending, or when he's allowing us to go through certain things, he doesn't tell the enemy, you gonna do that, but really what my plan is blah, blah, blah. The enemy doesn't know the plans of the Lord, okay? He doesn't know. If you start praising God, if you start saying, thank you, Jesus, I don't know why I'm saying thank you because my life is a mess. I don't know why I'm saying thank you, but I'm thanking you, God, because you know what? You woke me up this morning and that should be enough. That should really be enough. You woke me up this morning, you got me to this point, and I know you're not going to leave me here, so that should be enough. I shouldn't be expecting anything from you, so that should be enough. Thank you. And the enemy going to be like, I know this girl did not, I know she did not just say thank you. And he's just going to be like, all right, she boring. I got to go. Like, on to my next victim. Like, I swear, this is how it's going to be. This is what it is. Get to praising, girl. And depression will have no choice but to flee and back up off of you. Period. Poo. Hey Bo, forgive me for my bad English, lol. I'm not from the US. I have been on my spiritual journey about a week before you posted that first video, Take Heed. Well, hey sister. When you had posted that video, I felt as though the Lord had sent you to speak directly to me. If I had $1 for every time somebody done said this thing to me, woo girl. Everything was going great. I felt as though the Lord was speaking to me in so many ways. I was seeing God in every single thing, whether big or small. Everything fell apart until I believe I was revealed to let someone very important in my life, girl. Everything fell apart or everything came together? Well, she said she don't really speak English, so let's just keep reading because I'm not sure what she meant by that. The person never did anything to me, nor is the person toxic to me. I had gotten to the point where I accepted it. I remember crying all night telling God that may his will be done, but for some reason I would feel like God would tell me to tell the person directly to get out of my life. I would not bring myself to it. I prayed for a long time asking God to please make this task easy for me and the person. And I was also praying that God would be the one to reveal to this person that he needs to go. Fast forward to today, I haven't let the person go because I just could not do it. It would hurt the both of us, especially since it would feel as though it is for absolutely no reason, but I know God's plan is what's best for me. You posted a video where you said, if you are not ready to let go completely, then you cannot completely be one with God. And I remember you saying, if you're not ready to let go, come back later, as a joke, lol, but I took it serious. Did I say that? See, Holy Spirit be speaking through me, girl, so I don't even remember saying these things. I felt as though, again, you were speaking to me, or the Lord was speaking to me directly through you. It's been a couple of weeks now and I feel as though I've lost my way again. I don't pray as often as I used to. I don't read my Bible as often as I used to. And every day I feel shame or guilt for not being able to do what God has asked me to do. I do not love that person more than I love God, but I don't want to be the one to hurt that person when I should let him go. It's like I don't want to be the one to let him go. And I feel as though the more I don't do God's will, the further away I am from him. And I don't want that. But Bo, it hurts. It hurts that I have to be the one to hurt someone I love. There's so much that God has revealed to me about this person, and it's like I don't even focus on those things because I've never experienced them with that person. Well, let me continue. All in all, I've been trying to find dirt on that person as concrete proof that I can just tell him to get out of my life without it being an issue. I know what you're going to say. I have to do God's will. No, that's not what I was going to say. So, going back to my point about losing my way, I guess I need some advice on how to get back to God again. I have not really done anything bad. It's just that I put him to the side. I put him on second place, and that feeling sucks as well. I am miserable, and I hate that feeling. Well, there's a lot that God reveals to someone when one is trying to get a relationship with him, and those things may be hard to face, and I am facing that right now. I know that God will not purposely hurt me, but at the same time it sucks that I need to go through this storm in order to feel closer to him. Bo, I don't even know what I'm asking from this email. I am just hoping that by you reading this, God reveals the answer through you like he's done in all of the videos you have posted. Thank you for being you. I don't know what God has revealed to you about this person. I don't believe in coincidences though, and so there's a reason that you two may have been brought together. But if God has been telling you, for whatever reason he wants you to let this person go, then obviously you know what to do, and there's not really much for me to tell you. But sometimes I find that I write down or I copy and paste scriptures that I've come across into my notes because sometimes I think that I'm going to end up using them in a faith video, but then I get an email from someone like you and it all of a sudden makes sense. And so something you said in your email, I'll read it back. As soon as I read it, I'm like, oh, there's something I gotta tell you. So you had said, so I'm back to my point about losing my way. I guess I need some advice on how to get back to God again. And when you said that, it reminded me that I had written down just yesterday at 11:29 p.m. Actually, I had written this one down earlier. I added something else to the note after, so the time changed. Neither here nor there. But the 2 Timothy chapter 2 verses 11 to 13, I think this is for you. This is a trustworthy saying. If we die with him, we will also live with him. So in reference to Jesus, not the boy you done emailed me about, okay? If we endure hardship, we will reign with him. If we deny him, he will deny us. If we are unfaithful, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny who he is. So when I read, or when you say that you're trying to find your way back to him, you have to know that God is faithful, even when we are unfaithful, even when we turn our backs, even when we go and we're in where one doing the most, let's not have a toast. When we're living that way, he's still faithful. God doesn't leave us. Once you accept him in, he stays there. But because he's a gentleman, he will not force you to do anything that you don't want to do. That's why he gave us the free will. That being said, if you deny him, he will deny you. You have to understand that he's not left you. It's you that's left him. You're saying that you've lost your way, but you are a sheep and he is your shepherd. And when you lose your way, he comes to find you. And so maybe this is him coming to find you, letting you know that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you've done. You are his and he is yours. And don't allow somebody to come in between who you're supposed to be and who you want to be. Because who you want to be is not always who you're supposed to be, and who you're supposed to be is definitely not always who you want to be. You might want to be a rock star, but God is calling you to be a Christian singer, okay? You might want to be a rock star, but God said, no, you are going to be a veterinarian. That is just what it is. And so it's important to follow instruction. It's important that if he is telling you, you need to cut this person off, then you cut that person off, because your steps are ordered. So I talk about this all the time. I say, if people fall out of my life for whatever reason, I never question it, because I understand that people are in your life for seasons, and sometimes people are in your life for extended seasons, and sometimes it's short, sometimes it's a day, you know, sometimes you just cross paths with people. But if God has revealed things to you about this person and you're not sure what to do with what he's revealed to you, it could be one of two things. It could be that you are supposed to gently get them to see God and come to God, or it could be that this person is no good for you. I think it's probably option 2, because you said you lost your way because of this person. But what I know from my life experiences is that anytime you lose your way, you're gonna learn a lesson in the midst of that. And when you're done learning that lesson, God is gonna be right there to pick up the pieces. So if you choose this situation over what you know you're supposed to choose, then that's really on you, and you're gonna learn something from it. I'm not saying, you know what, you're gonna learn something anyway, so just do that. If you know the right thing to do, just make your life easier. If God reveals something to me about somebody and I know I can't see it, but it may come out, I ain't even gonna risk it, okay? There's no risk it for the biscuit over here. There's no point. I'm at a point now where I've already made those kinds of mistakes, and so my only job is to give you guys that same wisdom. Listen when God speaks. If you've been hearing God, it's such an honor and a blessing when God is speaking through you. I can't even watch a documentary without God telling me something, you know what I mean? Like, I can't. It doesn't happen for me, and I'm honored that way. I love it because it's so cool to me. But if you are not there yet, then you may still be transitioning between your first wear and your second wear. And if you aren't sure what I'm talking about wear, then you're gonna have to watch my last video. Sorry, but it is what it is. You might still be in that transition stage, but it's gonna take this one situation to get you to that place where you won't fall off again. Not fall off far enough to where you feel like, oh, I don't even want to get back on, because I don't want to be a disappointment to God, you know? But we're not. You're not a disappointment. God already knew you was going to do this before you even did it. So he's not surprised by anything that we do. What will surprise him is if you actually listen. What will surprise him is if you say, you know what? My life is in your hands. That's what's surprising to God. When we do the things that we're not supposed to do, that's not surprising, because we're born into sin, we're born into wickedness and all these things. So when we do things that are earthly, God's not surprised. He's like, okay, there she go again. not listening. There she go again. While I'm sitting here and wait, you know, he's patient with us the same way we have to be patient with him. Don't ignore what you're being told. Hey Bo, I like to be kept anonymous, but firstly, I love your channel and your daughter is super, super gorgeous. Thank you very much. But anyways, I live in the States and I'm an Aries, but I got an issue with this guy I used to talk to. His name is Bryson. But anyway, me and Bryson used to talk for about 5 months. A week after my birthday, we decided to call things off because he was a cheater and a liar. We are not going to get into things he did, but it was just messed up. Okay, future reference for BOETALKS, when you guys are emailing me, please use respectful language as I do not curse anymore and I don't want to read curse words, so I'm actually editing this as I am speaking. After we called things off, he said that he wanted us to be friends, but I'm a very sensitive Aries and I couldn't stand being friends with him. So I gave him the silent treatment for a long time, trying to do other things to keep my mind off of him, until one day I posted a quote on my Insta story. Okay, Khloe Kardashian. Oh my gosh. An old dude got butthurt and thought I was talking about him. I mean, if the shoe fits, wear it, sis. Well, that's something I used to say a lot. But I just ignored him and went on with my night. Later, he texted me again and said, I also find it funny how you're trying to ignore me. I let that go, but the true Aries inside of me wanted to cuss him out. So the next day I saw him at school and he's throwing shots to see if I'm going to get mad. When I tell you, if I didn't know Jesus, you gonna say all these things in here and talk about you know some Jesus, girl. I can't. Someone's child would have died that day. Well, so I get home and I'm hot. I was mad, so I finally replied to him and I cussed him out in patois. I told him to go, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, and he is from the States, so he didn't know what I was saying in half of the convo. But somehow in this world, me and Bryson became cool again. I don't know. Something here, I can't read that. I don't know what it says. Later on, we had formal. Both of us were supposed to be going with each other, but this man moved on so quick and he went with his boo and whatever. But I posted some video on Snap with me in my dress and he slid up on this one guy who likes me that was putting heart eyes under my post, and he asked who it was and I told him and he said something slick, but I don't even care. We finally had graduation and your girl was looking cute and whatever. Booty was popping. Anyways, I was taking pictures with my friends and my cousin told me it seemed like he wanted to talk to me, but I was too occupied. He later on texted me on Instagram and said that I looked good. Like, you ain't gotta tell me twice. I know I look good, but I told him thank you because I'm a nice person. Later on that summer, he texted me and asked me if I signed into his Snapchat. So I'm like, I don't know your password. Why are you asking me? Then he tries to start a convo. We talked for a little. He told me good night and I didn't reply. The next day, I'm on my phone. I see a notification and it's from him. So I opened it and it said F off. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? Because yesterday, just yesterday, you was cracking jokes with me. So I tried to reply, but I couldn't because I've been blocked. I was like, wow, this must be his GF, and it was. But I'm an I don't care female, and I've never had a problem with his girlfriend. I actually really think she's really pretty, and I always talk good about her. But my question is, how do I make peace with his girlfriend? Because she hangs around some of my friends. And do you think that I'm being too nice to people who disrespect me? I mean, this email could have been short and boo. You could have just got right into the asking at the end part. You could have just got right into that Snapchat part. We didn't have to know all this stuff going on behind here, but I think I'm happy I got to the end of the email, because the first bit of the email, even though I'm looking at it with new eyes, it was stressing me out. Okay? It was stressing me out, girl. But if this were before, I probably would have blew a gasket. But I like the end of the email because you're showing a level of maturity despite the fact that the rest of the email did not reflect that. The level of maturity is that you do not have a problem with his girlfriend. You do not want a problem with his girlfriend. But if you knew he had a girlfriend, why were you even entertaining him? And then now you're upset that she's upset at you. I think the only thing you can do is you can either message her on social media, wherever you have her, or you can hit her up in person and just be like, hey, I know that you probably read my messages with your boyfriend or whatever, but I'm not really into him like that. And I don't want an issue between you because our friends are cool. And, you know, even if you don't really like me for whatever reason, I think that we should still be cordial. I don't want an issue with you. I think you're beautiful and we're girls. We should uplift each other and not be catty towards each other. Sorry, maybe I crossed the boundary with messaging him back, but he messaged me first and I didn't realize it was going to be such an issue. So I want to apologize to you and just move forward. And she will probably respect you for that and you guys can move forward, especially because you're saying you don't have a problem with her. The other stuff in the email though, you need to work on yourself. You should not be cussing people out the way you're cussing people out and doing the most. You're still young, so you have a lot to learn. But I think if you really know Jesus, it would go much further than you not whooping somebody's butt at school. I think a lot of the time, a lot of us think that we know Jesus because we didn't do a heinous act of violence or a heinous thing. I think a lot of us think that we know Jesus because we went to church and, you know, we heard Jesus' name and now we're saying we know Jesus because we didn't whoop somebody's butt and then we offer them chapstick. If you know, you know. But the truth of the matter is knowing Jesus is so much deeper than not doing something wicked, because we shouldn't do something wicked anyway. I think knowing Jesus, if we truly know Jesus, and if we're going to say we know Jesus, it reflects in everything that we do, in our speech, the way that we talk, the way that we walk. It comes out. It's a light that shines. This is the light that shines, special for you and me. Okay? It's a light and it's obvious. I don't get that light from the email that you sent me. And I'm not saying that to make you feel like, what? I'm telling you because you said if you didn't know Jesus, somebody's child would have died that day. But that's not a fair statement. And so I think we have to be careful with how we approach things and how we say that we know Jesus, girl. Because sometimes we think we know Jesus, but we really don't know Jesus. And so if you really want to know Jesus, he's open to it, okay? He wants a relationship with all of us, okay? But he's not a player. Just put that out there. Just want to clarify. Hi, Bo. I hope that all is well with you and your family. I'm writing to you today hoping that you could lend me some of your wisdom. Well, I don't know if I want to share it. Just kidding. Of course, I want to give it all away. Background, I'm a 17-year-old student attending university in Florida. University at 17? Well, aren't you ahead of the game? This is my second year of being in college. Are you? First of all, what you need my wisdom for, girl? You 17 in your second year of college. It don't make no sense. Last year, I was by a graduate student. He said he couldn't help himself and that a girl like me should be happy to have had my first time with someone like him. Oh, you weren't, honey. You was. That's crazy. I don't want to make this email about this, but it did greatly affect my love life and how I interact with others. I found myself not being able to let go of men. I feel like I just want someone to love me for me and not for my body. Currently, I'm involved with someone that I see myself having a future with. I understand that I'm a little young to be thinking this, but it had crossed my mind. I find myself being fearful of him and wondering if he could do this to me too. I want to trust him, but I know that I should keep my eyes open. What can I do to prevent this from happening again? How can I become less fearful of men? Wow. this is a very powerful email. First and foremost, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that. I know it all too well. And it can complicate your love life and your self-worth and pretty much everything. You never know when you're going to be triggered. You never know when you're going to just be thinking about it and wondering about it. But you have to know that it does not define you. You have to know that you could not have prevented it even if you had wanted to. You have to know that it's not your fault and that we can't hold on to things that happen to us, and we can't hold on to things that we've done because it doesn't allow us or give us room to grow. It's hard to move past that, especially when it's so fresh. But in one of my previous videos, I talked about having new mercies every morning, and so every morning it's like we are born again. You have to know that what you went through a year ago, who you were a year ago, is not who you are today, and it's not who you're going to be tomorrow. So you have to shed that stuff, and you can't let it weigh you down, and you can't let it control you, and you can't put the things that have happened to you on every single man that comes into your presence. But you also have to know that this may be a part of your story to where God wants you to guard that part of you, because it doesn't count. That wasn't your first time. It doesn't count because you didn't agree to it. And the person that you're with now, it's important that you are open with him and tell him all that has happened and how it's affecting you right now. Because if you feel that this is a person that you can trust, then they'll be able to handle you with care, the care that you need to be handled with, because not every woman that this person encounters can be dealt with the same way. You are fragile, you are delicate, you've gone through something that changes you forever. And even though it changes how you see, it doesn't change your destiny and who you are called to be. It does not change your purpose here on earth. You have to realize that you going through this, though it affects you, it's not, and it cannot rule you or rule your life. You have to say, okay, this happened, but that's all that happened. It happened. And now it's time to go on to the next thing. I can't let this just keep eating me alive. Write it on paper, write down that you're over it, and keep telling yourself that until you believe it. Keep saying, keep writing down, this is not going to rule me. This is not going to change how I see men, because he is not every single man, and every single man is not him. Not every man is going to try to take advantage of me. Not every man is going to try to hurt me. You can't put all men into a box, because you yourself, obviously you would not want to be put into a box based on something that some other woman did. You know, it's like Eve in the garden. Eve in the garden has made a decision that affected all of humanity. And when people talk about women to this day, they put us in a box and they compare us to Eve. And maybe rightfully so. You hear people say things like, see, women don't listen. You can't talk to women about anything without them getting emotional, blah, blah, blah. Okay, people have generalized opinions about women, and I hate it, because I'm like, first of all, you don't know me. You don't know me. Maybe I don't listen, but you're not going to compare me to anybody else, okay? Because maybe it's not that I don't listen, but I just don't want to listen to you. How about that? You know what I mean? So I'm only talking about that because I'm saying you don't want to put everybody into a box. That guy should be in a box about 4x4 with metal bars, jail, electric chair. Like, he should be in a box, but all the other men that you encounter after him should not be in a box, because, well, it's happened to me, and if I did that, I would have a real struggle in relationships if I, from childhood, put any man into a box because I've been hurt by men. You have to have a certain way about yourself that allows you to see that just because something horrible happened to you doesn't mean that your whole life has to be affected by it. You are in control of whether or not it affects you forever or just for when it happened. Don't allow what happened to you to run you. You have to run it out of your head. You have to take control of your mind. You have to realize that when you woke up with a new mercy, you also woke up with a new coconut. That's what we're gonna call it today. You woke up with a new coconut, girl, and your coconut is still fresh. It is still intact. You are still intact. You have not fallen apart because you're stronger and you're bigger than your circumstances, than your situation. You're bigger than what happened to you. It cannot hold you. You cannot go to a dark place. You cannot allow him to be everyone else. You cannot be afraid to live because something was traumatic. You know, I've had a lot of trauma happen to me, and I don't mean to say I had trauma. Everybody has trauma. Who cares about your trauma? I'm not saying who cares about your trauma. I'm saying we all have trauma. I've been in your exact shoes, and I've not allowed it to take over my life. I've not allowed it to say, I'ma just sew that thing on up. Ain't nobody getting in there. I had to break it twice with 2 girls coming out of there. So I wasn't allowed to sew it up. And sometimes that's how you feel. And maybe you shouldn't sew it up in a physical sense, but in a spiritual sense, because you can't even let anybody else really in, and you shouldn't really be letting anybody in anyway. I think abstinence is key, and the fact that you were a virgin when it happened is key because you're still a virgin if you haven't had anybody after that because of the trauma surrounding it. But I really think you need to get grounded in prayer, of course, and give it to God and try to forgive yourself because you're blaming yourself when you're not supposed to be. So forgive the person that did it to you, obviously, so that you can heal that way, but also forgive yourself for thinking that you could have done anything to prevent it. Forgive yourself for feeling guilt and shame towards yourself when you don't have to. Shame and guilt is of the enemy. We don't have anything to feel shame or guilty for because we got Jesus, okay? He done went up on the cross and died for all of our shame and guilt, period. So there's no need for you to feel those things towards yourself. Like, it really hurt me at the end of your email when you said, what can I do to prevent this from happening again? Baby, there's really nothing that we could do to prevent anything that happens to us unless we just stay inside all day and just don't enjoy life because we're fearful of the what coulds and the what ifs. Yeah, it really hurt me because I think a lot of women feel the same way you do. Like, how could I put myself in that position? You know, maybe you felt like the signs were there and you were ignoring them because of whatever reason. But it's not even that. Like, don't put that on yourself because that's not your burden to bear. Sorry, that's not your burden to bear. That's your burden to bury, girl. See what I mean when I say God just gives me a word, honey? I don't even be asking. He just makes things come out of my mouth and I'm like, what? What did I just say? That is your burden to bury. Bury that notion, girl, because it's not your fault. It's never going to be any woman's fault. It's not what we wear. It's not what we said. It's not how we acted in the moment. There is no excuse for something like that to occur. There's no reason that it happened. Like, it's not us. It is the wickedness in the heart of the people that do it. He clearly felt a sense of pride about it because of what he said to you. Just disgusting, just trash. And so you will definitely be in my prayers because anybody that has gone through anything like this, they have a special place in my heart because I know how devastating it is to wake up and it just be lingering over you. Hey Bo, thank you so much for reading my email. I hope all is well with you and your family. I love your videos and the direction your channel is taking. Please continue to be used by God as his vessel. Well, Praise Jesus. I'm writing because I'm having trouble with my family, specifically my brother's eating disorder. He has a form of, and it basically controls his whole life. It is very much like an addiction that he feeds. Pun intended or not intended. And at 33 years old, it has really stopped the progression of his life and himself as a person. My main issue is with my mom. I am beginning to really resent her due to her enabling behavior towards my brother. She does not hold him responsible as a grown adult man, babies him to no end, and is constantly ignoring major warning signs because she does not want to step on his toes. She has explained to me that he's trying and that we need to be glad he's not on a feeding tube. My brother is 6'1" and 135 to 140 pounds. I refuse to play along and enable my brother's behavior. I love him, but I will not be manipulated by his disorder. And I am constantly looked at as the bad guy because I won't play along. My mother has always been on diets, had negative self-image. Well, you see, these are the generational curses I'm talking about. Negative self-image, had trouble choosing meals, and never cooked ever, so this contributes to her enabling. I am really in a great place in my life with my relationships, comfort, and faith. I do not want to allow stress and negativity in. I'm trying to compartmentalize my emotions and how I handle having a brother with an eating disorder. So my question is, if I won't play by his game and enable him, how can I help him? Because me being a real and straightforward really upsets them. But I feel it may be best. I know you have overcome issues with eating, and I felt like you would have great advice. Thank you for reading. I love you. One of the things that we have to accept about any kind of mental eating or addiction, any kind of disorder, is that people that do not want to change, people that do not want help, are a waste of our energy. If you are trying to tell a smoker that they need to quit, they ain't gonna want to quit. Even after the doctor done told them, okay, you got stage 2 cancer, we can still fight this thing, but you're gonna have to stop smoking. Sometimes they don't care because life has been so hard to them that they just want to smoke away. They're trying to leave, okay? They don't want to fight the cancer. They're just going to keep smoking. And there's people that have literal oxygen tanks attached to them and they still smoke to no end. For what reason, girl? I don't know. None of my business. But the point is that people only do what they want to do and when they're ready to do it. We cannot force anybody to do anything, much like faith. You cannot force somebody to have the same kind of faith as you, and you can't force somebody to eat food when they don't want to. These are not things that you have the power to help somebody with. You only have the power to plant seeds and allow them to water it themselves. You only have the power to enlist outside help that is specializing in dealing with this kind of situation. That's all you can do. You can't take it upon yourself to be like, okay, I have to fix my brother. That's not your job, and it's not for you to do because you are not skilled in doing that. You've not dealt with somebody that suffers this way because it's a mental disorder. It's not just a physical disorder. Hey, when things are up here, it requires a little bit of extra work. And when people don't have the faith to start it off, sometimes they just have to do the actual hands-on stuff first. And then soon after they get a little bit better, then they start inviting Jesus in to help them finish the job. But where your brother is concerned, when somebody's suffering with an eating disorder to that magnitude, they have to seek outside help. You have to call a clinic or whoever or wherever they go, Betty Ford girl, in your city, and tell them the problem, and then they come and they intervene. Your brother would have to be checked into a facility to get the help he needs. Now, I think your story is really unique, really important, because when the parent starts the problem, it's because somebody else started their problem. If your mother has the same issue, if she's always been that way and your brother has witnessed it growing up, this is generationally what the issue would be. And then because your mother feels guilty about what she's done to the child, she's going to continue to baby him because she'd rather baby him, not step on his toes, than accept the fact that she messed up. Then accept the fact that she became the person, maybe it was her mother, or her father, or her auntie, somebody in the family, somebody close to her, introduced her to starvation, and she took it and ran with it, put it on her kids, and thank God only one of you picked up the bad habit. But that's usually how it goes. There's usually that one sibling that goes to the really dark place, and it's not you, it's your brother. And so your mom, in her guilt and her shame, like we were just talking about, because she doesn't want to accept it, because it's hard to admit that you messed up to that magnitude, you will baby the person that you messed up. Your mom's not the first, and she's not going to be the last parent that does this. The saddest part about it is these things, ultimately, they only have two endings. One is the positive ending, of course, and the other ending is ultimately to perish, to die. And your only move is to have real conversations without being hurtful with not only your mother and your brother. Address your mom first. Ask her, first of all, why has she been the way she's been? Why did she not cook for you guys? Why did she project those things onto you? And then once she explains it to you, ask her, okay, now that you said this, you can accept that it's not necessarily your fault. You had a job to not continue the cycle, but you continued it. So this is where we are now, and we need to do something about it because I can't lose my mom and my brother to this. This is horrible. I can't afford to lose you guys. You guys are my heart. And sometimes that's all it takes, telling somebody how you feel about them without being harsh, you know. You have to say it in a gentle way that it can be received, because the minute that we start getting harsh and telling people the truth about themselves, whether they want to hear it or not, they get in defensive mode and they don't want to hear it, and then they just spiral further down the rabbit hole. We don't need that. You have to learn to approach people the way they find it effective to communicate. And if you've been in enough relationships, you'll learn that. Like with my spouse, I know that if we're arguing, I have to stay calm even if he's not, because that's the only way to get to the bottom of any problem. I have to stay calm. And so that's when truths and real conversations can be had. You have to communicate with people the way that they will receive it. And I'm the same way, because when I was a kid, if my mom was starting to yell at me, get at me, make me go crazy, I wasn't receiving it. But if she would just have a conversation with me, I could level. I could talk to her. I could love her for it. But when she was yelling at me, I'm like rolling my eyes, not so she could see, child. You know, I'm writing in my journal that she's a bitch. I'm doing the most. So that is something I've learned over the years. You gotta communicate with people the way that they want you to communicate with them, even if they're flying off the handle. So talk to your mom in a different way. Approach your brother and your mom differently, and tell them the reasons that you're bringing these things to their attention, and then take it a step further and seek the help that they need. I'm pretty sure that somebody from an eating clinic will come into your home and resolve the issue, or they will remove them from the home and bring them to a clinic that they can't check themselves out of. They will be forced to get healthy. It's not about whether or not they want to do it, if it's going to kill them. That's when you really have to intervene. But sometimes when the enemy has you that far trapped, it's the prayers and the will of other people that is going to get you out of those dark places. It's your attachment to somebody that has faith that's going to get you and remove you from the enemy's grasp. That's where the healing lies. You are the healer in your family. You have to put your hand over your family. You have to pray and give it to God. You have to know that whatever is in His will, it will be done. If you're praying to His will, it will be resolved. You have to give it to Him and let Him instruct you on what to do. And maybe He just did. I think that's kind of what you're dealing with. And also, you have to know that you can't internalize it. It's not your fight. It's not your battle. You didn't do this to them. And even though they are your family and you want to help and they may be all you have, so you have a fight in you, you make sure you're praying about it, because you get on your knees and you pray and God has no choice but to answer. You know, He has no choice but to answer. Your brother might come crying to you 2 days from now, sobbing because he wants to get better, because you got on your knees and you prayed and you put your all into it. There's a reason that you've been placed in your family, and you are the ticket. You are going to help break that generational curse, because your brother is too old to be going through this, like too old. And your mom is too old to be enabling it and feeding, for lack of the better word, this problem. So guys, I have a lot of emails to get through. I have to go be a mom. And so I didn't skip any emails today. I made sure that I read each and every one. I want to get each and every email read. So for the next couple of days, I will continue filming BOETALKS. I'm just actually really hungry. I haven't really eaten today. I had breakfast, that's it. So I'm done for today. But I literally have a bunch of emails have come in since I posted yesterday, and I want to make sure that I'm tackling each one of them. And I don't want to take on too many at once, because once I get to praying for the people that I read their emails for today, I want to make sure I can get a lot of time in for each person while I am praying for you guys and your circumstances and your situations. So tomorrow I'm going to continue filming BOETALKS, so you guys might get a whole flux of BOETALKS for the next few days. But there is a lot of emails here, and I'm not going back into super old emails. I'm just starting this whole thing fresh. So if you would like to email me for BOETALKS, feel free. It's BOETALKSS@gmail.com. It'll be in the description box. And that is pretty much it. I love you all. Make sure that you guys are trusting God with your hard stuff and even your easy stuff. Just give Him the praise all the time and see if your life does not change drastically. I love you all so much, and blessings. I will definitely see you in the next one.